Hi, my name is Kathy Ring. I live in the city of La Mesa, and you were talking about at night how important it is to get the right kinds of light. Is there such a thing as red night lights, and would you recommend them?
Yes, I have so many recommendations. Red night lights, they are very narrow band LEDs and they're very dim. And like I had a dog, and so I had night lights to get him to the dog door when he started having eye problems. Kindles, like for screens, use dim settings, red filters if you can. Kindle Paperwhite is front lit, and so it's not shining light into your eyes. Set timers on your lights. I have a multi-pronged LED in my living room that I can change the color temperature of the LEDs. So if there's light on in my living room, it's orange. And I can turn it and make it white if I need to find something I dropped or whatever, but like it's orange by default. Blackout curtains, eye masks, what else? Blue blocking glasses. So not the blue blocking glasses available at your optometrist, because those only block super high UV. So they're good for glare, but they're not gonna block any circadian input. So you can get yellow glasses. They're commercially available on, you can get, Amazon even has their own brand that you wear for a couple hours before you go to bed. That'd be if you don't have your, so that's what I do for shift workers who don't have control over their environment. So to the extent that you can control your environment, yeah, lights low, lights facing down, red, as dim as you can tolerate, filters, and blocking curtains, yeah.
Quick one, if you go to look for a night light, Albertsons, wherever you're going to buy it on the shelf, some of them have a switch on the back. And so it might look blue on the card, but look on the back, it might have a switch that switches it to red. Okay, so some of them have multicolor, but you kind of hard to, yeah, so use the red.
Yeah, also, most electronic devices by now, your smartphone, tablets, laptops have the night light, which actually reduces the blue peak, and it also helps a lot to help with the circadian rhythm. So yeah, enable it on your smartphone and your tablet.
Other questions?
What's the female speaker's name?
Probably.
The female speaker's name.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Okay.
What's her name? Liz. Thank you. Yeah, so as astronomers, we have night shifts and observing runs. So what can we do to reduce the negative impact on the body when we have to work at night? Several days in a row, several nights in a row, 2 weeks in a row. Thank you.
Definitely. There are a couple of small things you can do. I mean, the real answers don't work at night, but if you're anticipating a shift and you know the timing of a shift, so you could also do this if you're flying somewhere. So if you know you are going to have to work at, let's say, 8 p.m., you can start a couple of days before shifting your rhythms by an hour a day to better align up with the night. You can try to use so you run into an interesting problem because you can't use like bright illumination in your workplace. So that's normally what I would also suggest, is to have your new day be brightly illuminated to the extent possible, at least at the beginning. But you could give yourself a pulse of light if in terms of alertness, you could give yourself a pulse of light before you begin your shift. So make sure you get some bright light at the beginning of right before your shift. The other thing you can do is when you're coming home is to wear blue blocking glasses or sunglasses and make sure you're blocking the light. And then when you're sleeping during the day, blackout curtains, eye masks, earplugs, tell everybody in your family to leave you alone, all of those things. But it is an interesting, unique problem because you can't tell you to illuminate your shift. So that's normally what I would do. But you can start adjusting beforehand, and you can, if it's more than one night, you want to adjust. If it's only one night, don't adjust. your body can't do it quickly enough. So just try to stay alert and safe, and then block the light when you get home. Yeah, you're welcome.
Did you say you were a nurse or something?
Astronomer.
Astronomer. Oh, that's right, astronomy.
Yeah,
Sorry.
come theoretical
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
So this is a question for the young lady there about melatonin or the sleep pattern. And I was just wondering, my wife and I have sort of discovered that there may be something you can do with the microbiome in eating a proper diet that will help
Yeah.
the clock set itself better.
Yep. So remember I said there's all clocks in all different organs. So your ones that are involved in digestion do respond to food as an input. So light is the primary synchronizer of all the rhythms and the central clock, and it moves the stomach, let's say, but so does food. So in terms of your digestion, regularly timed eating and limiting your feeding window. So a lot of studies have come out in model systems, but now in humans, to show that metabolic risk is really, really improved by limiting your feeding window. So most people, if you measure when everybody's eating, eat for about 16 hours a day on average. They spread it out. They have a little coffee, then they have a nibble, then they're feeding basically the whole time they're awake. Not all in the same day, but over time they're giving themselves signals at all times of day. So if you can concentrate that into a 12-hour period instead of a 16, there's even some more benefits maybe with a 10-hour feeding window or something, but 12 is a good reasonable target that will help synchronize your clock. In terms of what calories you're consuming, if you're already at risk for things like metabolic disorders, like shift workers benefit from leaner diets in terms of their clock, because they're challenging their system by eating at the wrong time of day, and then they're challenging it extra by giving it like a high caloric, high fat food, which is like a thing. Like nurses in the middle of the night order pizza, and like that, it just happens. What's open 24 hours a day, so it just happens. So the extent that you can eat, I mean, that's good for metabolism, and it generally is just lean food, and then limiting the window and eating at regular times will all help with your clock. But I will say your clock does kind of break over time, just like every other system in your body. So it does get more difficult to sleep and more difficult to synchronize your clock. And once you hit 40-ish, your lenses start to yellow. So you're actually not getting as much blue light as younger people. So there's all kinds of things that are happening that are also age dependent that make it harder for older folks usually to synchronize than younger. Yeah.
Have you heard that maybe for older people, kefir is something that...
I have not heard that, no. I've heard like probiotics help your digestion. So things in yogurt and stuff, like bacteria is helpful for your digestion, but I don't study that. So I'm not gonna tell you that it helps your clock, because
Any studies on what cataract surgery does?
yeah, cataract surgery resolves it. And also you can get colored contacts too. Yeah.
Hi, are you ready for me? Do you have a curriculum that you reach out that you give to schools, or are you developing a curriculum? Because I'm a teacher, I taught 3rd grade, and I've never heard of this, and it'd be really cool. I think the kids would be really interested, and it would create people that are growing up knowing about this problem.
Who's,
Well, Dark Sky has a lot of brochures, has a lot of information. As you've seen, there are some flyers around. We have the programs rolling, the Responsible Light at Night. We're developing actually a new program that is going to be online. We're beta testing right now next week, selected persons. But yeah, the idea is to have an online course about responsible lighting. It's coming up later in this year.
Keep your eyes on the IDA.
Yeah, on social media, we keep updated all the things we're doing. I was telling precisely, Phil, that there's a new program coming, certifications, that is focused on oil and gas plants, industrial plants, but also seaports. He was mentioning the work in San Diego. Well, now Dark Sky is going to have a certification for ports. There's now precisely trying one in Tampa Bay. And of course, these type of areas, industrial work areas, have a strong requirement on safety and security, but it's completely addressed by this program. So yeah, keep updated on our social media.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Debbie. Is this on? Okay. I'm just wondering, Paul, if there's a minimum number that's good for security in residential spaces. Like, people can always do more. What's the minimum that would still allow for people to feel comfortable that they're getting security light?
This is for like your house, you mean, or something? Whatever the least amount is that you can deal with. Okay. You don't need a lot of light at night for security. Matter of fact, Kathy, I think, mentioned that if you put too much light on the side of your house, depending on the placement of where it is, it can actually make it harder for somebody that's across the street to see somebody trying to get into your house because of the glare. All right, so what you need is as low amount of light as you feel comfortable with, and direct it down and around the perimeter, but not out towards the street. Well, I'd have to start getting and talking about foot candles and lighting design, which is probably not something, you have to calculate that.
Well, the garage one would be good, 250.
Well, right. So I said I did a bunch of experimenting. This is my own personal thing, okay? But I went to Home Depot and I bought a whole bunch of lamps, and I tried them, and I kept going down less and less in lumens, and the 250 did the job. You know, I can see the driveway all around in front of my garage, and I can get from my car to the front door. And so it's fine. It probably could even be a little less than that, but I couldn't find a lamp that did it. So somewhere between 250 and 300, there seemed to be an assortment of lamps you can use. And don't worry about finding one that looks like a candelabra lamp. Do you know what I mean by that? More like a flame, okay? Because you're putting it inside a fixture, so you never get to see the shape of the bulb anyway. Okay, so whatever you can find that seems to work with the color and the quantity, the lumen value, then use it. You know.
Go ahead.
Yeah, actually, another great approach is the sensor, the movement sensor. Because imagine, somebody sees your house is dark and gets close by, and when the moment they get really close, boom, they have a light shining on them. They're gonna feel exposed. And it's actually good extra security. But security, as I was telling in my talk, I didn't go too deep in that, is tricky. It has a lot to do with the social context. It's more of a perception. There are a lot of stories. It's not the same here in the US in a small community that, for example, in TJ. The requirements are much, much more different. You have to be aware of the context, the social context, to properly address how much is too much. It can get really tricky.
So if you're interested, I have a little display on the table right behind the food there. It's a black box. It has a bulb that's hidden that you can control with a remote, and you can change either or both the color and the intensity. You can look and see what it looks like to you.
Most people are buying, the Ring cameras with the big things. Is there something that
I understand.
do less?
So we need to change the way people buy lights. Well, yeah, there was a question over there.
I don't need that. So for circadian rhythms, right? Let's take that to the extreme. How does it work for folks like working in Antarctica or in the Arctic 24 hours a day or 24 hours at night? How does that work?
So they do what's called essentially free run. Yep, they do what's called free running, basically, which is what I was saying. If I put you in a cave, which I'm not going to do, but if I put you in a cave, all your rhythms will still cycle, but they'll start falling out of alignment with one another. So another thing that happens a lot in extreme latitudes is seasonal affective disorder, which is what people get depressed mood because they are not getting daylight. So the best solution for that kind of problem would be to have like light boxes in your house, and then masking, if it's constant light, masking light in your house with blackout curtains, eye masks, and all that. So you can, to the extent that you have, a lot of people I talk to don't have control over their schedules, but to the extent that you have control over your schedule, keeping it regular, getting light at the beginning especially, and then no light when you're trying to sleep is the sort of best hygiene you can do, so that it looks the same no matter where you are. You just have to maybe do artificial things to make it happen.
Other questions? You've been here before. Can't take seconds like this.
At where?
The second question, thank you.
Oh, I don't know.
I forgot to mention, we're supposed to mention our name and where we live. So I'm Niels Lund, my wife Allison here. We live in Cardiff, California. We're happy to be here. Question for the astronomer. When you were talking about the telescopes and how difficult it is to find the placement, we all know that now there's these great telescopes outside our planet, outside the atmosphere. And how often, I guess, can astronomers access those? Maybe it's kind of rare, I'm not sure.
Well, the thing is that the space telescopes, most of them are very specialized. You have telescopes that are precisely designed to look at certain specific astronomical phenomena. And astronomers, we have all kinds of astronomers. Some do near-Earth objects, others do planetary nebula, others do neutron stars, others do many, many things. And we are a lot of astronomers, actually. So you can use one space telescope for the whole astronomical community and all their needs. There's no way. And you can send just more and more space telescopes because it's really difficult, it's really expensive. I mean, James Webb was launched a few years ago, so about 3 years ago, but that took about 15 years to develop. And the amount of science you can do with it is very specialized because it's an infrared telescope. It's designed to look things that happened a long, long time ago at the beginning of the universe. But it's not going to be very useful for another type of astronomy research. So yeah, they have their purpose, but there's not an all-purpose. It's not like this multi-tool Leatherman thing. And even in ground telescopes, there are also different type of telescopes precisely designed and targeted for specific research. For example, here in San Pedro Martyr, we have around 10 telescopes now. So we have a few that are all general telescopes, but there are also ones that are linked to another projects, international projects. For example, the follow-up of gamma-ray bursts. They are linked with space telescopes that observe in gamma-ray wavelengths. They relay the information to ground telescopes that do the infrared and optical astronomy. But exactly, you can use one telescope for all research. So yes, we need precisely to preserve these places because there's nowhere else to go and there's a need.
Okay, so there's another talk coming, but before that, there's a story. You know where Pittsburgh is. You know what kind of city it used to be. Over a period of 10 years, Pittsburgh has moved to become a dark sky city. And that's the result of one person, one lady astronomer, who's just pushed and pushed and pushed, giving presentations to city council, and didn't get very far until she demonstrated they could save a lot of money. So it can be done.
Actually, that's a great point. Is if you want to be advocates, know your audience. If you want to talk with the government, talk what matters to them, savings. If you're going to go to research, talk with biologists. If you're going to go to improve the well-being in a city, you have a circadian rhythm experts. Know your audience, know your topics, and precisely show them that there are no drawbacks. This is one of the few problems that actually is a win-win situation for everybody. We just need to learn how to communicate the benefits to them. As an astronomer, I acknowledge that we're a small community with high dollar projects, but we're not going too far without the help of everybody, for all of you. That's why we need to reach out and make these alliances.
Yeah, I guarantee you that seeing a dark sky. How many people have never seen a really dark sky? Raise your hand. Oh, you all have seen a dark sky. Wasn't the first time something very spiritual? It's like seeing a solar eclipse for the first time. I remember I was teaching Introduction to Geology to Caltech students, very brilliant students, mostly coming from cities, from New York City, from Los Angeles, San Francisco. And I take them to the Mojave or to Owens Valley, and they just get ready for camping and everything, and then the night would fall, and they just look up, and they would say, "Oh my God, I didn't know this was here." Well, we have to recover that. Let's take a break, and at 6 o'clock we have another talk, which is very interesting, what you can do with binoculars.